Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly with me, let's fly away. Come fly with me, let's float down to Peru. In Llama Land, there's a one-man band, and he'll toot his flute for you. Come fly with me, let's take off in the blue. Once I get you up there where the air is rarefied, we'll just fly starry-eyed. Once I get you up there, I'll be holding you so near. You may hear angels cheer, 'cause we're together.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of Frank Sinatra for you. Come fly with me. We hope you'll fly with us this morning. Good morning. Welcome to Freedom Works, the Paul Molloy Show. I am Paul Molloy, and along with my colleague Juan Alvarez today, we thank you for joining us. It is Friday, April the 25th, and we got a lot going on. We're going to be talking in a few minutes with Ryan Young of the Competitive Enterprise Institute about the barriers that may be facing a successful tariff and trade deal with the United Kingdom. So stay tuned for that in just a few minutes. Meantime, as President Trump is preparing a trip to the Vatican for the Pope's funeral, he is handed a couple of legal setbacks, one with a deported migrant, the other with an executive order on election integrity. We are going to give you the details on that. But possible good news on the China tariff response to the United States, as China seeks to exempt some U.S. imports from the tariff levy. We will tell you which ones they are in a little bit. And how about this for a top 10? Speaking of the Pope, how about the top 10 longest serving popes? Longest serving popes. We will give you the list at the end of the show. Freedom Works. We are sponsored by Andrew's Master Barbershop. Men, for the best haircut in Tampa Bay, I keep telling you, you've got to get over to Dunedin. Get to the Overcash Plaza, which is just north of State Road 580 Main Street on Overcash Drive. You will get a great haircut at a great price, and you'll get great ambiance. Andrew and the gang are terrific. They're open Tuesdays through Saturdays. Call first for your appointment, 727-733-3773. And Arbor Life Tree Service, whether it's tree enhancement, tree removal, tree pruning, stump grinding, anything to do with a tree, Arbor Life is Tampa Bay's premier tree service. Call Arbor Life today for a free estimate, 727-330-1999. And before we get the show going, I want to let you know that my partner with Freedom Works and also my good friend, Big Ed Davis, is recuperating from a recent illness. He knows he is in our thoughts and our prayers and our wishes for a very speedy recovery, so that he is soon right back with us here on Freedom Works. And in the meantime, I'm delighted to have Juan Alvarez. And Juan, thank you so much for being here, my friend. It's a pleasure to know you. And I think we'll have some fun with the show. We got, what we'll do here is we're going to talk a little shop for a few minutes. And then we're going to have our colleague who we've had on before, Ryan Young, join us around 10:15. So that's about 4 or 5 minutes from now. But in the meantime, a federal judge in Washington yesterday blocked a portion of President Trump's executive order on election integrity, specifically provisions that related to providing documentary proof of your citizenship before you're allowed to vote. Now, the judge from the D.C. District Court, her name is Colleen Collar-Catelli. Wow, say that about 10 times. Colleen Collar-Catelli. She issued the order in response to a lawsuit filed by 3 separate groups over 5 different provisions in an executive order that Trump handed out relating to election integrity. Now, while she dismissed requests to block 3 of the provisions, 2 more she allowed. The first one, the first block provision, seeks to require documentary proof of citizenship. The second she blocked sought to require federal agencies offering voter registration to people on public assistance assess the individual's citizenship status before doing so. So those 2 were blocked. Caller Catelli said that she would not block the other 3. The other 3 sought to challenge, that the group sought to challenge, which covered mail-in ballots and data collection on citizenship status. She called those challenges premature and indicated that they'd be best challenged at the state level. So, by the way, earlier this month, the House passed a bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. Now, it's still got to get past the Senate, and then Trump can sign it into law, which he would do. In the meantime, 25 of the 50 states are considering some kind of proof of citizenship legislation. And in total, 15 state constitutions have prohibitions against non-citizen voting. So we'll see where all of that goes. In the meantime, a second U.S. judge, a second one in Maryland, not the original one, has ordered the Trump administration to return another guy who was deported from the U.S. to El Salvador last month. He was deported under the Alien Enemies Act. The latest case playing out in federal court now, U.S. District Judge Stephanie Gallagher, by the way, she was a Trump appointee, ruled that the Trump administration violated an agreement that the Department of Homeland Security had reached last year with a group of asylum seekers when it deported a 20-year-old referred to in court as Christian. He was part of a group who had entered the U.S. illegally as unaccompanied children and who later filed asylum claims to stay. Now, the Homeland Security agreed in their settlement it would refrain from deporting any of the individuals in the class until their asylum claims could be fully adjudicated in a U.S. court. So Stephanie Gallagher has ruled that the government breached that particular agreement when it deported Christian, who was a member of the class, and ordered that they return the guy to the U.S. So we will see where all of that goes. All right. Let's do this, Juan. We are going to, let's take our break. And when we come back, we're going to have Ryan Young of the Competitive Enterprise Institute join us. We're going to talk with Ryan about the barriers that may be facing a successful tariff and trade deal with the United Kingdom.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
You know, there's an old saying that a family-run business gives you the best product. Well, that's surely the case with Andrew's Master Barbershop in Dunedin. Andrew, his daughter, and his grandson specialize in the best men's haircuts in Tampa Bay, and Andrew's been at it for over 50 years. So give them a try. They're located in the Overcash Plaza just north of 580 Main Street in Dunedin. Call first for your appointment, men. 727-733-3773. That's 727-733-3773. Andrew's Master Barbershop.
It's a new year, and for many property owners, time to assess the health and vitality of their shrubs and trees. Arbor Life Tree Service can give all of your trees a health check and, where needed, a pruning and trimming to make sure they not only remain vibrant, but won't pose a danger during any of Tampa Bay's upcoming storms. Why not call Arbor Life today for a free estimate? 727-330-1999. That's 727-330-1999. Arbor Life Tree Service. They really will go out on a limb for you.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Let's go tonight. Share the spice of life. Hey, that's nice tonight.
Hey, we are back. Thank you so very much for joining us on this wonderful Friday. Really appreciate it. And we are delighted to have back an old friend of ours from the Great Competitive Enterprise Institute, Ryan Young. He's a senior economist there. He focuses, among other things, on trade and international goings-on, and these days he's been kept very busy. Most recently, our Vice President, J.D. Vance, has hinted that a trade deal could be in the future for the United States and the United Kingdom. But we got some things we got to get over, some barriers, including a U.S. trade surplus and some other items that could put a deal at risk. So, Ryan, welcome back. What is going, I mean, there are so many things going on right now with Donald Trump. I don't know how you can keep everything in any kind of semblance, but what is going on right now as you see it with our relationships on tariffs between the United States and the United Kingdom?
Yeah, the zone is flooded, isn't it?
It really seems to be, Ryan. Really...
The UK is one. The UK is one area where I'm actually pretty hopeful.
That's good news.
Yeah, the objectives for the tariffs aren't necessarily coherent, but one thing the administration does want is to make deals with a lot of countries. They had mentioned making 90 deals in 90 days. That's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so.
But I can see 10 or 20 on the optimistic side of things. And I think one of the best candidates is the UK. These things usually take years to negotiate, which is one reason why the 90 days is not going to happen. But negotiations for the UK-US agreement actually started during the first Trump administration. There's an ideal agreement that was hashed out by several think tanks, including CEI. Back during the first Trump administration, that was hashed out. We've already seen negotiations at the congressional and parliamentary level. Those things were paused during the Biden administration, but this is something that can go over the finish line, and it might happen as soon as Trump makes an upcoming state visit to the UK. It might happen this spring, maybe this summer.
Well, I'm glad you're optimistic about that. The one thing it seems to be that we've had an issue with the United Kingdom, among other things, of course, is the ability of our cars to get in there and be sold. Don't they have quite a strict tariff on our cars?
Yeah, it's not that much worse than what most other countries have. And of course, the U.S. Lives in a glass house in that regard, not just with the new tariffs, but since the 1960s, we've had a 25% tariff on imported pickup trucks and similar vehicles.
I see.
So yeah, that'd be nice for us to get rid of, give lower prices here, give our consumers more choices and more competition in the market. And if they lower their barriers, that's great. Their consumers get more choices, lower prices, and of course our producers get access to a foreign market. Trade is win-win, and the more we can do to remove barriers, the better. So I'm hopeful that an agreement would include tariff relief. And there are a bunch of thorny regulatory issues too. You know, health and safety, food inspections are a big one. But I'm hopeful for some progress on those as well.
So Trump comes out yesterday and he's holding a press conference, a little bit of a press gathering. I think it was in the Oval Office. And he's so positive about, we got all of these things going. We got all these irons in the fire, as it were, But I haven't seen any closed deal yet with any country. Have we been able? I hope, like you say, we got maybe 18 to 20 irons in the fire right now. Do you see any of them coming to fruition in a relatively short period of time?
The UK's got the best chance. The other ones we'll see. In theory, as long as you're not too ambitious, a trade agreement can be pretty simple. The core of it should be tariff relief and something that's called mutual recognition, where suppose, we'll use the UK as an example. Washing machines and other appliances must have power cords that are at least 2 meters long. In the US, the standard is 6 feet, and that difference is about 6 inches. And if you're a factory making thousands and thousands of machines in the US, you're going to use the 6-foot standard, not the 2 meter, because 6 inches times thousands and thousands of machines, well, that's a lot of copper and a lot of insulation that you can save on. But it doesn't affect the washing machine's performance or safety or reliability. It's 6 inches of power cord. And yet those machines are banned from the UK because of that. So if we have mutual recognition where the UK trusts our safety regulations, they'll just automatically approve it because we're a trusted ally, and vice versa. That can give our producers access to new markets like the UK or Europe, anyone else we have a mutual recognition agreement with. This could apply to all kinds of industries, pharmaceuticals, finance, all kinds of things. If you have an agreement centered on that, as opposed to environmental provisions and labor provisions and this and that, just keep it simple with tariffs and mutual recognition, you can make a lot of deals very quickly.
Well, that would be good news. We're talking with Ryan Young, senior economist at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, about our relationship with the United Kingdom and any kind of a trade deal that we can come up with. You know, it seems, Ryan, that Donald Trump is eager to, I guess the word is restore or bring back a strong manufacturing base in this country. But I wonder if that's a little bit of a Don Quixote-ish kind of a hope. We've got all of these other countries for many years now that have been manufacturing products. And quite frankly, they can do it more cost effectively than we can do it. Yes, we can certainly, and I think we need to make sure that we can manufacture all the things that we need for our defense, as in our ships and in our armaments and things like that. Obviously continue to manufacture our cars. But when it comes to other things that maybe other countries can do a little bit better with, I wonder if he's chasing a ghost there. What do you think?
It is. And one reason is that manufacturing in the U.S., obviously it's taking a pretty big hit right now from the tariffs. But up until, 3 weeks ago, it was pretty healthy. In the 1950s, the big three automakers ruled the world. Everyone had a stable unionized job with a pension. Manufacturing output was about 12% of GDP, about 1/8 of the economy. Today, or a month ago, manufacturing output was also about 12% of GDP, about 1/8 of the economy. The patient is healthy. U.S. manufacturing output hit its all-time record in terms of just how much stuff was being cranked out in 2018, when President Trump enacted his first tariff. It didn't happen in the 50s or the 70s. Wow. It happened recently, right before the tariffs, and they took a hit from those tariffs, and then they took a second hit from COVID. It's been recovering a little bit since, and of course, these new tariffs are going to hurt it much more severely. If not for those tariffs and other protectionist measures, the U.S. manufacturing would be in even better shape. As it is right now, it's still pretty good.
Yeah. So, in other words, are you saying if it's not broke, don't fix it right now, as far as Trump's concerned?
At the very least, just don't tariff things. It's economic self-destruction. Yeah. First, do no harm. It's a Hippocratic principle for politicians.
Yeah. I think that's why his numbers have dropped a little bit when it comes to the economy. I think people are a little worried about that. They're also worried, let's be honest, that the price of all our products are going to go up. Now, I get it. A couple of things have dropped, and one of them, which is a key, I think, and you can correct me here if I'm wrong, is that our energy costs are dropping now, and everything is delivered eventually by a truck. So that's got to affect the price to some extent. Is that accurate?
Yes, but the effect is very small compared to tariffs. The U.S. now has the highest tariffs in the developed world, and it's not close. Second place is less than half of us.
Wow.
It is not close. And yeah, if we're not in a recession already, we'll know that in 6 months. We're still in rough shape no matter what.
Do you think we're in a recession right now?
I'd say the odds are a little better than 50-50. Yes, we are.
No kidding. That's
and we're going to see more and more evidence of that. We're reaching the timeline now where ships already stopped coming from China because of 145% tariffs. Mm-hmm. That'll take about a month for it to reach ports like Los Angeles and Seattle. It'll take another 2 or 3 weeks for those ships to reach ports in Houston and New York, and after that, it's going to stop. We're already seeing layoffs in the trucking industry because they're going to see a slowdown no matter what. If the tariffs are drawn back, then there's going to be a glut in supply chains that will cause even further delays. It's just a mess.
Yeah. I thought that we're on a hold with all the tariffs right now, like a 90-day or whatever it is now hold. Didn't Trump issue the reprieve?
He was overselling it. Tariffs are still enormously higher
The
than they
original
were just a
ones.
month ago. Yeah, say 78% tariff against Vietnam or whatever that was.
Is that in effect?
That's withdrawn back down to 10,
Mm-hmm.
up from near zero for most goods. So that's still enough to put a dent in companies' margins and raise consumer prices. I don't think people appreciated how low tariffs across the world were. After World War II, the average tariff worldwide was about 22%, and a month ago that was down to about 5.49%. A 3/4 tariff reduction globally, and that's not just the U.S. That's all of our trading partners. That was already happening, and now we just threw a wrench into it.
What about his his trade, the people he's appointed to all of these positions that are supposedly giving him advice? Wouldn't they say the same thing you're saying right now? Hey, it's not broke. We shouldn't be doing this. You ought to figure out a way to get out of this whole mess. I mean, I know that he's got an ego. And he doesn't want to come out and say, well, I think we're going to go in a different direction. I think the closest he's come to that is saying he's flexible. We're talking about Trump. But do you think that the so-called experts in his administration would say the same thing to him?
They have been, especially in his first term, less so now. But I think people are just over-intellectualizing and overthinking this. President Trump just likes tariffs.
Yeah.
It's in his gut, it's in his bones. He just likes tariffs. And all this talk about whether it's trade deficits or stimulating manufacturing, all that is after the fact rationalizing of the president's gut feeling. That's all it is. He likes tariffs.
He's got to have a rational thought about this at some point. I mean, a lot of us have invested our 401ks, et cetera, in the stock market. So now we're a little bit afraid to look, because it's become very volatile. Prices certainly have not come down necessarily. Anyway, it seems to me that he's just going to have to rethink a lot of this and somehow ease his way out of it. Maybe he won't, after the so-called 90-day period, maybe he won't reinstall them. Although, they're trying to put up this, this kind of aggressive so-called approach. But what about China? Now, China is reportedly weighing whether or not to exempt some imports from the tariffs as this fallout continues with the United States. Per a story, I guess Reuters says that a task force is collecting items in China that could be exempted from tariffs and is asking companies to submit their own requests. So maybe there's a little give and take there, do you think?
I think so. And intentionally or not, the administration did leak that they'll likely have the current tariffs 145%, the current rate. That's not sustainable. That is enough to essentially end U.S.-China trade, and that would cripple our manufacturing industries because most of what we import is not cheap plastic stuff you find at Walmart or Dollar General. More than 60% of American imports are intermediate goods that our factories use. It's components and machinery and raw materials that we use to make American products in America. When you put 145% tariff on that, you're hurting America. That's why there is such a self-destructive policy. You raise consumer prices and you cripple our industries at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see how we can sustain that. I just don't. Ryan Young, it's always a pleasure to have you on with us. I always learn something when you're here. I just realized for the first time that we're actually got more manufacturing kind of going on than we ever did in the 50s. That's kind of good news. Let's try and keep things that way. Thank you, Ryan. I look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, sir. Ryan Young, Competitive Enterprise Institute. Okay, we're going to take our break. And when we come back, we got all kinds of things we're going to talk about. China and its tariffs, a trip by Donald Trump to the Vatican for the funeral of the Pope, and all kinds of other things. So don't go away. We'll be back.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
You know, there's an old saying that a family-run business gives you the best product. Well, that's surely the case with Andrew's Master Barbershop in Dunedin. Andrew, his daughter, and his grandson specialize in the best men's haircuts in Tampa Bay, and Andrew's been at it for over 50 years. So give them a try. They're located in the Overcash Plaza just north of 580 Main Street in Dunedin. Call first for your appointment, men. 727-733-3773. That's 727-733-3773. Andrew's Master Barbershop.
It's a new year, and for many property owners, time to assess the health and vitality of their shrubs and trees. ArborLife Tree Service can give all of your trees a health check and, where needed, a pruning and trimming to make sure they not only remain vibrant, but won't pose a danger during any of Tampa Bay's upcoming storms. Why not call ArborLife today for a free estimate? 727-330-1999. That's 727-330-1999. ArborLife Tree Service. They really will go out on a limb for you.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, we are back on a Friday. Thank you so very much for listening to us. By the way, President Trump was in the Oval Office yesterday and was taking some questions from the press. And among some of the other things, he has a message to Putin, the Russian president. He says he wants him to stop the airstrikes over Ukraine. Now, that kind of echoes a comment that came from President Biden about 3 years ago when he repeatedly warned Putin against using chemical or nuclear weapons. Trump posted yesterday, "I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done." Now, that came out as Russian airstrikes rocked Kyiv. Remember 3 years ago when Biden was asked, what would you say to Putin if he was considering using chemical or tactical nuclear weapons? Remember the famous line where he goes, don't. He said it 3 times at the time. He said it will change the face of war unlike anything since World War II. So there you go. I mean, how effective is just Trump saying stop? I'm beginning to think that Vladimir Putin ain't listening. But I got a guy that will listen to us. He's our eye in the northern sky. Angelo Ceresi is joining us. And Angelo, I don't know. There's a lot going on. I don't know if you were listening to Ryan Young a few minutes ago. Ryan thinks that we should kind of leave well enough alone when it comes to all of these situations that we have with other countries.
Yeah, probably maybe, move a little bit slower than going at the pace they have done,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's always wise to do that, because you don't know how it's going to take right away,
There's if I can find it here, some of his the polling numbers, most recent polling numbers on how he's handling the economy are going south on him a little bit. He's got very good numbers when it comes to the border, very strong. But when it comes to how he's handling tariffs and the like, most people are not real happy with it. Now, maybe they'll be happier if we can get a couple of deals. I haven't heard any deals yet, Angelo.
No, I mean, that's what he really campaigned on. People, it's the economy all the time. It was the economy and the border and dealing with the illegals coming into the country. And, all he had to do was drill, baby, drill, get the prices coming down, bring the inflation down,
mm-hmm.
and bring the employment numbers up again, Yeah. That's all he had to do. But, Donald Trump was Donald Trump. He had his ideas of these terrorists, and bringing more money into the country. But you may be bringing more money into the country, but you're not solving the inflation problem, and you're not solving the problem that the people elected you to do.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think people are worried. They're worried about the prices.
They're worried about their prices. They're worried about their retirement.
And their retirement. They're worried about what the stock market's doing.
Right, because a lot of people, their retirement incomes are gauged on the stock market.
Absolutely.
I mean, their number one priority is the people's pocketbook.
Yeah, they're all their 401ks that they've got, and they're trying to, exist on along with their Social Security.
Right. I mean, that's number one issue in our country.
Yeah,
is to survive. They survive economically.
Hey, speaking about polls, there's a new poll that indicates Americans are far from thrilled with the prospect of Trump seeking a third term. Now, whether or not he's really serious, I think he's just sort of jiving us a little bit.
Well, he's scorching around with the Democrats. You know that.
I think so. 3/4 of respondents in a Reuters Ipsos poll, which was conducted earlier this month, said Trump should not run for a third term. Standing, of course, in his way is the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution.
Well, historically, that's what it's going to be. I mean, after Roosevelt ran 4 terms.
That's it.
That was it. I mean, they put a stop to that.
They did.
And because you can't have somebody going 4 terms, 2, 3 terms. No.
Yeah.
Historically, it's not going to happen. And I think he's just chiding the Democrats.
I think so, too. It's funny because, and while the Republicans' grip over the GOP, Trump's grip is strong, even a majority of Republicans that were questioned in this poll, 53% said Trump should not worry about coming in a third time.
But you know the thing is, the American people care about the Constitution, right?
Yeah.
In one step. And in another step, you got the Democrats going against the Constitution, pushing for illegals to stay in the country, pushing for illegals to vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
It's such a hypocritic thing, that what's going on in the country. Like I say, one breath you want the Constitution, you want to go along with the Constitution, but in another breath, you got these federal judges going, saying you can do this, you can do that. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
It's really wrong. Which way do we go in this country?
On another issue, that there's been so much legal action going on with executive orders and the like. The Supreme Court, however, on a positive note, I guess, the Supreme Court's majority offered strong support for parents seeking religious liberty right to be informed about and opt out from their kids reading material in elementary schools that they would think conflicts with their faith. Apparently in Maryland, the Montgomery County School Board withdrew its original opt-out policy for books. And that started the ball rolling. And the books related to gender and sexuality. I mean, when you're in 3rd grade and 4th grade, come on.
No, there's no way to. You got to get back to the basics of reading, writing, arithmetic, not about sexuality. The Democrats are pushing this issue. They're pushing the envelope on that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got these school boards, these activists pushing it. In the schools, sexuality should be taught at home.
Exactly.
Not in the school.
Right, you are.
I mean, and the school has no jurisdiction, should have no jurisdiction over how these kids are being taught. The school board should be elected by the people. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I can remember way back when I was in grade school. I think I was in 8th grade at that point. All the way through till then, not a word about sexuality, none. But they took us on a field trip to what they call the town's health museum, and they had what do you want to call it? A glass woman with all her organs intact, and they would point out the different organs. And that was the first taste we ever had of anything to do with the sexuality, concept.
Right.
And it was done in a biological way. It made sense, I thought. But nothing was ever brought up before that. And we came out of, when you got to be in 6th and 7th and 8th grade, let's be honest, kids were talking about sex amongst themselves. But then what would happen? Well, you would go home and you talk to your dad or your mom, and you'd kind of get a little bit of information back and forth that way. But you just you took it in as the interest in you was starting to blossom. They didn't throw it and force feed it down your throat when you were in third grade.
No. Back then, no. I mean, listen, when you have a Supreme Court judge, the highest court in the land, and you have a judge saying she can't define what a woman is, right? During her confirmation hearings.
Yeah, Katanya Brown or whatever.
Ketanji Brown. We are in trouble, okay? This country is in trouble. When you have the highest court in the land, a judge saying, well, I can't define what a woman is, what do you expect is happening in this country? This is why you got the screwballs running the country right now.
Yeah, it's been a mess. What do you think?
It filters down, comes all the way down. And people say, well, if a judge can't define it, who are we to judge? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And this is what we have going on in this country. That's why you have all these judges going against the president, say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. When you have one of the top judges in the country, they can't define something. Well, look what you got. We're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the Supreme Court, and we haven't heard the end of it, but it sounds like the Supreme Court is looking at this concept and saying that, parents do have a right to opt out of any kind of books that might be, might be involving sexuality at this point, especially in the lower grades.
Because they can't even get the math scores up.
Exactly.
The reading scores up, right?
That's exactly.
And they're worried about sexuality.
Hey, finally, I want to ask you about how Trump is handling currently the war in Ukraine. And is Putin listening? I get the impression Putin has decided, quite frankly, that Trump is not planning on doing anything real large. So he's just going to go ahead and keep bombing, like he's just recently, I guess, bombed Kyiv.
I don't think Putin really wants to settle, have a peace agreement there. He wants to destroy the Ukraine, and that's his main objective. He's not going to listen to anybody. And the rest of the world, even if, Trump is trying, he's trying.
He's going to have to look at an economical strangulation.
Everybody in the world should isolate Russia. Everybody. Every country in the world should isolate Russia. Shut off their oil, shut off everything, economically and everything. Yeah, isolate them, and then you see the people will go after Putin.
Yeah, if you stop buying their energy, because they got a lot of that.
Right, but the Europeans are still buying it. Germany.
I know. We got to convince them not to do it.
Well,
if they're really interested in getting that war over with, the Europeans are the closest to the war itself anyway.
Right. And they're not doing anything about it. So this is what's going to happen. If you got the European countries not doing anything, we're far away from Europe, you know what I'm saying? He's not going to listen. Mm-hmm. And you got to isolate him. You have to isolate that country. I hope these people in these countries do it. But until that happens, he's going to keep doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, he's going to take over their country. That's what's going to happen.
That's kind of sad and scary.
Yes.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on, my friend, Angelo, our eye in the northern sky. Look forward to talking with you again next week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Thank you. Say hello to Ed for me.
We will. I know I think he's listening to us, and I've already said that he's in our thoughts and prayers and our wishes for a speedy recovery. We need him back.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Angelo.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend.
You too. All right, Angelo Ceresi. We're going to take our final break. Hey, and when we come back, how about this? The top 10 longest serving popes.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
You know, there's an old saying that a family-run business gives you the best product. Well, that's surely the case with Andrew's Master Barbershop in Dunedin. Andrew, his daughter, and his grandson specialize in the best men's haircuts in Tampa Bay, and Andrew's been at it for over 50 years. So give them a try. They're located in the Overcash Plaza just north of 580 Main Street in Dunedin. Call first for your appointment, men. 727-733-3773. That's 727-733-3773. Andrew's Master Barbershop.
It's a new year, and for many property owners, time to assess the health and vitality of their shrubs and trees. Arbor Life Tree Service can give all of your trees a health check and, where needed, a pruning and trimming to make sure they not only remain vibrant, but won't pose a danger during any of Tampa Bay's upcoming storms. Why not call Arbor Life today for a free estimate? 727-330-1999. That's 727-330-1999. Arbor Life Tree Service. They really will go out on a limb for you.
This is the TAN Talk Radio Network.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go?
Hey, we're back for the final segment of Freedom Works, and we thank you so very much for listening to us. By the way, Freedom Works comes to you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the great TAN Talk Radio Network, and we always hope that you can listen to us. If for any reason you want to hear some of our older shows, our most recent shows, because Ed's been out for a while, are not being posted right now. But some of our earlier shows are very much there. You can go to our website, ourfreedomworks.com. That's O-U-R, ourfreedomworks.com, and click on that podcast button at the top. It will open up a window, and you'll see the shows that we have been doing. I think at this point, maybe about a week or so ago, and then on back. Almost every show is up there, and you can take your pick. You can see who the guest is before you turn on the show. It'll list the guest that we are talking with, the topic with the guest, and also our top 10. ourfreedomworks.com. So here's something interesting. A New York Magazine profile on the son of George Soros. His name is Alex Soros, who has been chosen to take up his father's leadership mantle, apparently is not painted in a very positive light. It says here, the real story is that every single person who knows the family knows that Alex was exactly the wrong person to lead the foundation for George Soros. Says George Soros started what the Open Society Foundation website calls his philanthropic network in the mid-'80s. It eventually became OSF, Open Society Foundation, which has been led by George himself for many decades. But back in June of 2023, he passed the torch on that to his son, Alex. And says here in private, I guess Alex is brooding and cerebral and has a propensity for candor and bursts of hot-temperedness. So I guess he's a handful sometimes. Anyway, I remind you to the New York Magazine, and they can read about Alex Soros. So there you go. In the meantime, the Navy, and the Secretary of the Navy is John Phelan, has announced that the Navy will no longer pursue a zero emissions goal in the Navy. He made the announcement saying, we need to focus on having a lethal and a ready naval force, unimpeded by ideologically motivated regulations. Now, the plan had called for the Navy to use 100% emission-free vehicles by 2035 and to use 100% carbon pollution-free electricity sources by 2030. Well, apparently, the Navy Secretary thinks we're not going to have to do that. Now, Pete Hegseth, who was our Secretary of Defense, upon hearing that, applauded Phelan and said to him, well done. So I guess the main thing is to be ready and not worry about a totally green environment at the same time. Also, Elon Musk, is he going to step down in his work with Doge, the government efficiency organization under Donald Trump? Well, Elon Musk says that his time allocation to Doge will be dropping significantly. Now, this came after his Tesla car company reported revenue loss from its electric vehicles in its year-over-year situation after the first quarter of this year. Now, Tesla generated almost $14 billion in revenue in the first 3 months of 2025, but that's a drop of nearly 20% from the same period last year. You've heard about all of the vandalism that's been going on across the country by some people. So the company noted that uncertainty in the automotive and energy markets continues to increase as rapidly evolving trade policies adversely impact the global supply chain and cost structure of Tesla and our peers. So I guess we'll wait to see, but he's still very much involved. And we hope that, some good will come out of that, eventually. Also, just a couple of other little items here that I wanted to talk to you about. I did mention a little bit earlier that China is reportedly weighing whether or not to exempt some U.S. imports from its 125% tariff levy as the economic fallout in its trade war with the United States is becoming more apparent. Per reporting from Reuters, a Ministry of Commerce task force in China is collecting lists of items that could be exempted from tariffs and is asking companies to submit their own requests. And also, Beijing was reportedly preparing to include 8 semiconductor-related items in the exemption, but not memory chips. It says here a list of more than 130 categories of products eligible for exemptions, ranging from vaccines and chemicals to jet engines, was circulating widely among businesses and trade groups today, or I should say last Friday. I guess it was today, actually. While the scope of possible exemptions remain unknown, an analysis circulating in trade groups said it corresponded to about 45 billion, that's with a B, 45 billion worth of imports last year. Washington has said the current status quo is economically untenable, has already offered tariff exemptions to some electronic goods, but Beijing has taken a harder stance, saying it is willing to fight to the end unless the U.S. lifts all of its tariffs that it currently seeks to be adding. So there you go. All right. Juan, it is time for our top 10. And just to tell you, we do that top 10 at the end of every show. And I know you're probably, I don't know how good a drummer you are, Juan. We're going to find out, though. What we're going to do is every time I say a certain number, you're going to roll the drum, and then I'm going to give you the answer. Now, what we're going to do is we, and this, of course, is in line with the passing of Pope Francis. We decided to look up who are the top 10 longest serving popes of all time. And you're going to be surprised to see who is number one. I was very surprised. So without further ado, the top 10 longest serving popes, starting with number 10. Number 10 is Pope Leo, the pope that reigned from 440 to 461. He reigned for 21 years, 1 month, and 13 days. All right. Number 9, Pope Sylvester. A little earlier than Leo. Pope Sylvester reigned from 314 to 335. And that was 21 years, 11 months, and 1 day. Number 8. Oh, that's the one for number 1. That's all right. We'll go back to the other one next time. But number 8 is Pope Alexander III. He reigned from 1159 to 1181, which meant he reigned for 21 years, 11 months, and 24 days. Number 7. That's the one. Pope Pius VII. And he reigned from 1800 to 1823. Yeah, 23 years, 5 months, and 7 days. Number 6, Pope Adrian I. He reigned from 772 to 795, 23 years, 10 months, and 25 days. Where am I here? All right, number 5, Pope Pius VI, 1775 to 1799, 24 years, 6 months, and 15 days. Number 4 is Pope Leo XIII, 1878 to 1903, 25 years, 5 months, and 1 day. Number 3. Hey, a lot of us remember number 3. Number 3 is Pope John Paul II. And Pope John Paul II, he was from Poland. He reigned from 1978 to 2005, 26 years, 5 months, and 17 days. Number 2, Pope Pius IX, 1846 to 1878. And he reigned for 31 years, 7 months, and 23 days. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, Juan, and maybe you don't know anything about popes. And Juan is shaking his head. He doesn't know too much about popes, but I'm going to give you a big hint. He's the most famous pope. The most famous pope of all time.
I get him.
All right. Do you know your Bible?
A little bit.
Okay. Do you remember who Jesus designated?
Pedro.
Pedro is correct. Roll the drum. That's the right cadence. It's St. Peter. Did you know that St. Peter reigned, excuse me, from 30 to 64? Now, Christ died on the cross at age 33 or whatever, or 32. So, excuse me, St. Peter was 30 to 64. That was, or it says here, or it could have been 33 to 67. So they weren't exactly sure. But it turns out, and they don't have the number of days, but 34 years, which means that he reigned about 2.5 years longer than Pope Pius IX. So there you go. All right. Thank you so very much, everybody, for listening. Hope you have a wonderful and a safe weekend. God willing, we will be back on Monday. In the meantime, please remember, freedom works.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go back to that same old place, sweet home, Chicago? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Honey, hey, baby, don't you wanna go back to that same old place, a sweet home, Chicago? Well, what I want us to 6 and 2 is 8. Come on, baby, don't you make me laugh. Hey, baby, now.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Peter King. We're getting more clarity on how President Trump believes Russia's war with Ukraine should end. CBS's Holly Williams says under the plan, Russia would reportedly keep most of the territory it's claimed during the war.
The terms of the ceasefire deal being proposed by the U.S. reportedly include excluding Ukraine from NATO membership and all the protection that would bring, lifting some economic sanctions imposed on Russia because of the war, freezing the fighting close to the current front line. Remember that Russia currently occupies around 20% of Ukrainian territory, and recognizing Crimea as part of Russia.
And President Trump tells Time magazine that has to be part of any plan for ending the war. Ukraine's President Zelensky has called that a deal breaker. CBS's Errol Barnett says there's been another development in Russia.
Authorities say a car bomb killed a senior military leader this morning, and an investigation is underway into the circumstances.
Officials say the deputy director of military operations is the second high-ranking officer killed by a bomb in 4 months. The Vatican says more than 150,000 people have filed past the Pope's coffin to pay their final respects. CBS's Nora O'Donnell on tomorrow's funeral.
The Mass will be about 2.5 hours long. It will be mostly in Latin. It will be led by Cardinal Ray. He is the Dean of the College of Cardinals. And then we will see a procession to the Basilica of St. Mary Major, where the Vatican says a group of the poor and needy will be waiting outside to say a final farewell.
Former New York Congressman George Santos is in court and could be sentenced to more than 7 years in prison for wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. Loyola law professor Lori Levinson.
It's very much in this situation that Santos has turned out to be his own worst enemy. Even though he pled guilty, which ordinarily would lead to a defendant saying, I accepted responsibility, he followed that guilty plea with basically a tirade against the Department of Justice, disparaging everyone involved, even calling them a cabal of pedophiles.
The latest federal immigration violation arrests now include a judge. Here's CBS's Scott McFarland.
The FBI director on social media has announced the arrest of a local judge in Milwaukee. Her name is Hannah Dogan. The FBI is alleging that she helped reroute somebody who was in her court who the feds were trying to detain on an immigration issue. So the FBI director, Kash Patel, says he's arrested the judge with the prospect of a charge of obstruction of law enforcement.
On Wall Street, the Dow is down 234 points. The NASDAQ is up 31. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Zipper.
And now it's time for Only an American Minute with your host, Bill Cochran.
Why don't the kids seem happier? Why do you see kids marching down the streets so much, out in that heat and in the cold? Why? What are they thinking, these college-educated kids, just children, going to grow up, get really big degrees, and probably be making a lot of big money when they get a job. But they love to protest, and they have no idea what they're protesting today. It just seems like there's a lot of anger in the world, and there shouldn't be. The world is getting better. I mean, it seems like at least we got peace negotiations going on in Ukraine, maybe the end of the war, maybe the borders closed, maybe America will come back, and it'll achieve great things in the future. So kids, study, get a degree, and make a lot of money. Think about it.
Did you ever think about hosting your very own radio show? Here's how.
Hey, Tampa Bay, did you know you can have a 1-hour program on the Tan Talk Radio Network for less than the cost of one 60-second announcement on many Tampa Bay stations? That's right. We'll put you on the radio for less than the cost of one 60-second announcement on many stations. Check it out today. Use your program to promote yourself, your business, or someone else's business. Call Lola Jean, the broadcast queen, 727-510-7622. That's 510-7622. Call Lola Jean now to check out your Tan Talk Network program. In addition to network radio, we'll stream your program in audio and video all over the world. Call Lola Jean now, 727-510-7622. Call today. Your network 1-hour program can start tomorrow. Broadcast your message in audio and video on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Are you a writer, inventor? Do you have questions about your intellectual property rights? Well, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 o'clock for Joy on Paper. Once a month, I will have a special guest, the writer's legal eagle, Bill Larson of Larson & Larson, who can answer your questions. Protect your valuable work. Email me your questions to patsy.radio@gmail.com and then listen in every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. right here on Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network. That's patsy.radio@gmail.com.
This is the radio program Spectrum 360.
This is Mark Skogman
and TK Weeks.